it's brilliant because I think they feel it as well. You know, if you finish playing rugby, you've lost that close network of friends that you see on a day in, day out basis, and that's what drives then to come to the gym on a daily basis. It's the accountability that you're going to see some of the boys. You're going to have those connections again, and you know, I think that's what's been brilliant for me is also for me having that in my life, and it's, you know, to be able to build a business that you're just passionate about and you just love being around is incredible.
How are you doing, man?
I'm doing good, mate. It's been looking forward to this for a while. We've been trying to line it up.
I know, mate. I know. It's been hard, but we got you here.
Sorry, mate.
Nah, don't be sorry. You're a busy man. You're doing everything.
It was your fault last time, anyway.
It was. Sean Edwards, mate. He got the trump card in foot.
There we go.
Yeah, I know. Regret that. No, he was great. He was really good. I suppose, man, everyone knows you, but from my end, people have identities times. So like Robin, the rugby player for Blues or for Wales, you know, and these recognitions of who you are. But I've been blessed to get to know you now. I remember you playing, but I get to know you now. And for me, mate, like it's been pretty amazing to see someone with a lot of similar values to me. Community is probably one of your cornerstones. And just how you carry yourself and how you look after people, you're very team orientated. And when we did the boys' day with you lot in the Ions, I was like, wow, this guy's just, his heart and his intention is the right place. So for me, man, thank you for that.
Oh no, I appreciate that. Thank you, mate. Thank you. Nice words. And you know, I think that's how we've really connected, really, isn't it? It's, you know, you hit the nail on the head in terms of the value base, and you know, I think human performance as well. I think that's something we'll obviously dive into today. But it's, you know, it's how do we be the best versions of ourselves on a day-to-day basis, and you know, that's at the heart of what you do on a day in, day out basis, and it's ultimately the same here. So it's gonna be good to chat, mate. Love that.
Well, let's just get the elephant out the room, my face. Let's just nip that in the bud now, because at the moment I look like an avatar. And we're talking about human performance. So trained on Tuesday night. You know your fair share of scars. And for me, I went down to help out the Ravens and copped a nice elbow to the forehead. So a couple of stitches in the face, and I thought I can't
turn this down. It's a good look. It certainly it makes you look hard. That's the main thing. I'm glad that the cameras I've pointed out is straight on, because if it was at the side and getting my side profile of the schnoz, I'd be in a bit of a difficult position, and I don't think I'd hear the end of it. But mate, you look good, mate.
Thanks,
mate. You can pull it off.
What does someone say? Chicks dig scars.
Exactly, mate.
So you know, we'll let the
swelling. It's been a while since you've had one, I'm sure.
What, a chick or a scar? Mate, I was how about you, when you say about your nose, you ever broke it?
I wasn't born like this. Was I born like this? No. Yeah, I've broken it plenty of times over the years. I think the main one was when I was in school, and I was getting to my mum in terms of not taking me down A&E and getting it set properly. I can't even believe this is how we're starting the podcast, talking about my schnoz. And then over the years, just with it being a bit bigger and bigger, he was always getting a battering. So, and that's where my nickname Cyril really comes from. Cyril Sneer from the Raccoons. And it's stuck with me throughout my career. But, it's part and parcel of the job, isn't it?
That's it, mate. That's it. Well, you know, let's just say, as a player, what would you say kind of like your key skills were?
I think that's a big part of the journey that I've been on, to be quite honest. And, you know, where I'm at now as a strength and conditioning coach, and my passion for that side of things is really, as a player, you know, I think I reflect back now on, you know, what I built myself on as a player was, I don't think I was the most talented rugby player in the world. You know, and I think a lot of the on-field achievements that I was able to get over the years came through the hard work and the effort off-field. And, you know, I always enjoyed being in the gym. I enjoyed the training aspect, trying to be fittest, trying to be strongest, powerful, whatever it may be. That's what really drove me on-field. And I think that's what I often, you know, remind myself of is, you know, the rugby's a great sport in terms of it's all shapes and sizes, but you know, if you've got that mindset and that willingness to put the work in, I think it's somewhere it's a game, it's a sport that can take you a long way. And, you know, I think you obviously need to have a talent to be able to reach the top. But I, you know, 100% would say a lot of what I was able to achieve was through the efforts that went off field. So in terms of the skill set, you know, I always saw myself as, you know, how I played was a hard-working open side, like putting my head where it hurts, that sort of thing. The contact area is what I always try to pride myself on. You know, as a young player coming through, and you know the Richie McCaws, the George Smiths. You know, that's certainly how I wanted to try and mould what I worked to mould my game around that. You know, the contact area, and you know, I think, you know, alongside with the support play, you know, and I think these days you see, you know, so many open sides. Certainly in Wales, we're spoilt for the talent that we have a full skill set, you know, of not just the contact area, the ball skills, you know, the game management, that side of things. I think it's fantastic to see, and you know, it's amazing to see how much the game's, you know, moved on over the years. But yes, rugby's certainly been the foundations of what's really set me up in the next stage of my life, and you know, I think that's really what I'm really grateful for. You know, sport, exercise, and the platform it's had, and the impact it's had on me over the years.
That's amazing, that is, and it's refreshing for you to identify that. And I think the key one you just said out all this is the awareness to know where your strengths lied. Like you just said, I wasn't the most skillful, but I basically had a lot of dog in me. And
hence the schnoz.
Schnoz, yeah. Put your head where places no one else wanted to go. And I think if you've got a big heart, like that's such a massive catalyst as a player to be able to show intention, work rate. And I think as you get older into your career, or now post-career for yourself, you look at the guys now, you know, turn up early, do the stretching. You know, they're not on their case all the time. You'd pick 15 of those over, like, you know, a couple of prima donnas that might score a nice, really unbelievable try, but you know, that's that environment we seek, and
100%.
You built that elsewhere. And
I think, you know, hit the nail on the head with it. You know, a big mantra that I always talk about is, you know, when we're trying to, and I use it with you know, at the start of camp, you know, I like a good quote, so I always like to put quotes on the board, and it's a quote that I use over and over again, not just in rugby. You know, I use it in our gym environment. It's, you know, anyone can achieve high performance in their life. It's all about the repetition of simplicity. Yeah. And it's that is so often overlooked and undervalued. And, you know, for me, when you look at the world-class rugby players that we've had over the years, you know, more often than not, what's the difference between world-class, the difference between international level, world-class, regional? It's often those behaviours, those, you know, the little basic day in, day out routines, the getting into training early, doing the prehab, prepping the body, you know, their attention to detail, nutrition, recovery, game analysis, you know, and that ultimately is what drives performance. I'm not saying that, you know, there's, you know, youngsters out there these days aren't at that level, but I think that's the benefit in terms of having world-class rugby players around you, is you can see these behaviours, you know, more evident, and you know, that's what drives environment. You know, we're a product of our environment, and you know, that's where, you know, whether it's in professional sport, whether it's in our day-to-day lives, whether it's in the gym, in the workplace, it's, you know, it's those small behaviours that let us grow and develop, and that's why I've got a passion for it. It's, you know, human performance, as I said at the start. It's, you know, I'm fortunate that I've been involved in top level rugby for a long time. You know, but since retiring from rugby, you know, coming out of professional rugby, going back into rugby, I think that's what I've really recognised. That's what my passion is: human performance as opposed to sports performance. You know, obviously it is sports performance, but it's, you know, there's such similarities in terms of what we're talking about here, the basics, the foundations to what drive performance in day-to-day life or on field. It is, you know, the pillars in terms of what I have it on our board in Ion, and in both facilities, big boards, which is our pillars of performance. 4 key pillars being movement, so movement over exercise, creating more movement in our day-to-day life, nutrition, stress management, often the not so much talked about one, the human connections, which we really value. Yeah. They're the 4 key pillars that drive performance, but it's ultimately, you can have the pillars, but it's all about the foundations they sit on. And for me, foundations are mindset. And what is mindset? For me, it is the ability to consistently perform disciplined behaviors. And I think that in itself, discipline, over motivation, all the cliches as such, but it's so true. And
so true.
It's, I think that's the biggest issue at times. I think where society's at these days, it's built around comfort and convenience, which is the downfall in terms of, our health, our well-being, physical, mental, which is tough to overcome. And, I think a big part of how we've evolved at Ion over the years is really trying to recognize that and trying to help people understand the barriers that society is putting there now. It's not about shaming people. No. It's not about making people feel guilty because they're not finding time to go to the gym, but it's just trying to really, eat a little bit better or, improve their sleep quality. But it's ultimately, right, what things can we do that are going to help overcome these barriers? Because they're already touched on this, society is our environment, and it's our environment that molds us as individuals. And if we're in a society which we are, that's built around comfort and convenience, then that's what's really detrimental. And it's like, that's the big part now, trying to understand the behaviors that we can have on our day-to-day basis, which is going to help not just now in the present, but longevity and quality of life as we age. And that's something, certainly how, we've evolved Ion. I've had Ion now for over 10 years, and, early days started off hardcore CrossFit facility, and probably the biggest shift for us as a business was COVID, and really starting to, having plenty of time to really reflect on what we're doing as a business, the direction we're on, and, understanding who our target market is. For me, our target market with Ion are those time-precious individuals, those people that have busy work lives, busy family lives. And, I think coupled with the longer I've been involved in strength and conditioning, my knowledge base, my experience expanding, it's really understanding how you create change, and, for me, I see Ion now a lot more, built around, the strength and conditioning, the fundamentals, the basics, in terms of what we do in the gym. CrossFit, I love CrossFit. It's not that I'm bagging on it or anything. It's just, I feel the approach that we've taken has been about, we've cut out all the, the high skill movements.
What would that be, like your muscle ups?
Things like the muscle ups, the super advanced, but even things like kipping, pull-ups, flopping around on the ring, the rings, it's, on the bar, standing upside down, going on your hands. I get the fun aspect of it, but in terms of when people are busy and they're coming to the gym,
is that what they want to do?
What's going to give them the biggest bang for buck in terms of driving physical qualities? And, I feel our environment, what I build Ion is all about environment. I need to create the right environment. If the environment is energized and upbeat, that's what people are going to remember. That's what's going to keep people coming back for more. And for me, the most effective training program is the program that people will keep turning up day in, day out. That's where change comes from. And when going back to the style of program we run, we have multiple, we have different programs built around time domain. So a 60-minute class, a 45-minute class, a 30-minute class that really aligns with our objective and who our target market are, those busy individuals. So if they haven't got that full hour, they can still get in the gym, 5-minute warm-up, 25-minute, get moving. Love that. Which is super important to me. And, that's how we've evolved our timetable. But in terms of how we program our strength and conditioning, our Iron 60 class, it's, we squat every week, deadlift every week, we push, we pull, we carry things. It's just the fundamental movements. And, if we're doing those and the bottom of the physical quality pyramid in terms of trying to enhance it is movement quality. So, if we give people time to get more experienced, expose them more to these fundamental movements, the more they're going to improve day, in these daily movements away from the gym. And ultimately that's what I want to be building on about, is how what we do in the gym, how it positively impacts their lives away from the gym. And, it's tough because over the past few years, I've lost a hell of a lot of members in terms of that have gone to other CrossFit facilities, more traditional hardcore CrossFit facilities, but I've also gained a lot more members in terms of, understanding more why we're doing what we're doing. And, and for me, I never like seeing, I always have that, it's always a personal, emotional moment where you see a member leave to go to another gym and it's like, oh, is it something we've done? But I've become a lot more comfortable with that and understanding that, if this isn't for you, that's okay. That's a choice thing. And it's, I'm very, very set. Our team's very clear on the direction. What's our mission that we're on with ION? It's about trying to have a positive impact on our local and wider community from a health and wellness perspective. And I say the wider because I don't want ION to be just a brand or just a gym like between four walls. A big part of what I've tried to work on over the last couple of years is how do we go outside? How do we get outside of these four walls that can impact our local community, our wider community, and doing a lot more now within the community from a youth perspective, trying to tap more into the corporate wellness side of things, and because it all aligns with what we're trying to do, and that's my why. Simon Sinek always talks about that aspect. Understand your why, and for me, it is about what drives me as a coach. And I always talk to our team about it, ION, like fundamentally, why is it you want to be a coach? What is it? Is it because you want to, you want to get people bigger, faster, stronger? And that's ultimately what when I started off, that's what I thought it was all about. For me now, it's just, as a coach, first and foremost, it's about helping people.
Helping people, man.
And it's helping people be the best versions of themselves, or helping rugby players be the best rugby player they can be. For me, that's the thing that excites me. That's the what gets me up, early in the morning. That's what drives me to, be the best we can be as a team to impact other people's lives. And I know I've gone on a right tangent there.
I love that,
because I know you
What's
said
in that coffee?
You had Sterlo on the other day, and I know you had.
Nah, mate, Sterlo's the man. But no, all of those, Robin, all those things you just said though are bang on, and you can see in the way you talk, you're very passionate about it, which is a key thing. Now, one thing I'm a big believer in is like, this is a medicine which is natural given to you. You've created a medicine which is, you come in this door feeling a bit, fuck, I got to get through this. You come out the door feeling $1 million. You're a better version of yourself for your partner. You're a better version of yourself for work. Your productivity is better. Your stress levels are less. And this is free. We didn't give you a little Band-Aid effect, or I'm feeling a bit stressed out at the moment from work and everything. Here's a couple of tablets, take those and mask the problem. Now what we're going to do, we're going to put you into a position where you're going to feel uncomfortable for a little bit, but we're going to get you back into a place of going, oh wow, I've just become more resilient. I've seen I can push my body out my limitations. On top of that, I've made some friends here today. And to finish it off then, I want to come again. Now they're the key things I see out of that right now. And Sterlo mentioned this, and this is something I really like about what you've created, is everything's one push away. Us as humans, we're lazy. Like you just said, we love comfortability. Now, if we can create an environment where everything is one push away. So you come through that door, hey, there's some bands over there. Jump on that, do some stretching. Okay, workout here, bars are there, rowers here, assault bikes or kettlebells, all here for you. Next thing now, what do we all love to do? Have a coffee. We'll top it off. I've got a coffee shop inside the gym. Get that. What does that do then? Human connection. One push away. Yeah. So the key pillars of all of those, Rob, you just said, man, and I think that's the key. Like, I've come to many of your classes. I come on the Saturday mornings, and I'll come, the boys club in the morning. And you've got people, like you said in the past, where I used to go to school with these guys, and I haven't heard them, I haven't seen enough of them. Well, next thing, you've got your little community back of people who've done a full circle. You have Gethin Jenkins there, you have McLeod. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? People who have past players are coming in, and that environment is built now. I
think there's so many good points that you've made there with it. For me, it's, it's putting the words into actions, isn't it? It's that, it's the pillars that we have, the movement, nutrition, stress management, connections. It's recognizing them and having them clear as day in what we do on a day-to-day basis. Your background, my background, sporting background, rugby, that's ultimately where it's all stemmed from in terms of the value of human connections. You know, what does often when rugby players retire talk about missing the most? It's the changing rooms, it's the banter, it's the connection, the friendships that you make. And, you know, for me with Ion, that's exactly, when I finished playing rugby, that's what I miss so much. And that's what I wanted to try and replicate for me, first of all, in terms of trying to have something away from rugby that created that team-like environment. And, you know, it's the same as, why do people go to the gym? Why do the people join a rugby team, a netball team, a football team? They join for the sport. They join the gym to exercise. But ultimately, what keeps them there the longest is the friendships they make. You know, and that's what's so real about it. And, you know, for me, that, like you said, the journey that we've been on Ion, and certainly the last couple of years, it's been amazing for me on a personal level in terms of seeing, you know, some of my oldest friends that I never in a million years would have thought I would have in Ion coming and training. And, you know, these are friends that I had since played rugby with 11, 12, 13, 14 years of age. You know, always been friends and stuff, but as life gets busy, you just disconnect a bit. You know, you lose track, and I'm sure you won't mind me saying it. It's one of our group got in touch, was having some quite tough personal battles, and you know, I'm so glad that he reached out, and he's just started training, got back into his training, and over the last couple of years, the direction he's been on has been just amazing to see how he's overcome some tough times. The impact now that it's been able to have on his career, his family, the positive impact there is just, I'm just so proud of him. But what's been amazing as well is that group of friends also saw him getting back involved, that also then brought them involved. And it's amazing now, as 40-year-old middle-aged men, you know, our social time is, you know, 5:30, 6 a.m. in the morning training, then sticking around for a coffee before getting on with our busy days. And, you know, it's also, it's amazing to see, you know, like I said, Malin coming in, Fishy, Dallas Jenkins.
He's a funny guy, mate.
Yeah.
Fish is a funny guy, isn't he? Fucking hell.
It's the entertainment that they bring with it. And I think for boys like Alice Jenkins and seeing them in, it's brilliant, because I think they feel it as well. You know, if you finish playing rugby, you've lost that close network of friends that you see on a day in, day out basis, and that's what drives then to come to the gym on a daily basis. It's the accountability that you're going to see some of the boys. You're going to have those connections again, and, you know, I think that's what's been brilliant for me, is also for me having that in my life. And it's, you know, to be able to build a business that you're just passionate about and you just love being around is incredible. And, you know, I'm really fortunate that, you know, my wife's involved with the business as well. And seeing her growth over the years, you know, she does a lot in the postnatal space, and that again, it's been amazing to see how, you know, she's grown that community. You know, what can be quite an isolated period for ladies in their lives when they've had little ones and stuck at home and sleep and stuff, and, you know, just seeing how that's taken off. You know, she now runs that 3-4 times a week, you know, heavily attended classes. You know, we have the ability to close the gym, have little ones coming in as well. And, you know, I think it all fits into the big picture in terms of the impact, you know, that something can have on community. But, you know, going back to what you pointed out in terms of, you know, the three big rocks, aren't there, in our lives? You know, it's our careers, our family lives, or the relationships we have, and then it's the self-care element. And, you know, we go back to where we're at as a society, the comfort, convenience, the poor health at times. It's the barriers are often because so much we put ourselves for other people first and foremost, whether it's other family members or, you know, a lot of mums, dads are out there, you know, husband, wives, that they're prioritising others, they're prioritising the families, and totally right, so they should, but also, you know, they're busy with their work lives. But ultimately, self-care is the big rock that always falls by the wayside. And, what we need people to remember is, if you want to be the best version of yourself, if you want to be the best mum, dad, husband, wife, if you want to be the best solicitor, fireman, you have to be at the top of your game in terms of physically and mentally, because if you're not healthy, if you're lacking your mental health, if you're constantly run down, illness, you're never gonna be able to perform at a high level. So it's understanding that self-care is so important, that you find ways of, addressing that area and driving that area, because it's only going to make you more and more impactful in those other areas of your lives, which is important to us all.
100%, man. I couldn't agree more with that. And I believe you're talking about, prioritizing our health and putting ourselves first. And I think people don't realize either, like, we don't wake up one day becoming confident. I see us as like, we start at 0 when we wake up, and we kind of tick boxes throughout the day, as in like, okay, that's earned me more confidence, doing a hard workout in the morning. We talk about eating the frog, right?
Yeah.
Getting the hardest part of your day done at the start of the day, right? For me, I find myself, I respect myself a lot more after a work. I've put myself through something. I feel like I carry myself better. I feel more comfortable to go speak to you now, and for me, one thing is how you do everything, right? And I think that concept has kept me going in life. And that's, like you as well, we're very curious people, man. We like to know the ins and outs. We like to grow. If we're not growing and we're stagnant for a little bit, that's okay. But if we're stagnant for too long, we're like, hey, what are we doing? I can see that. And that's why you've built such an amazing concept with Ion 1 and then Ion 2B, is that right?
Yeah, Space to Be.
Space to Be, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that growth mindset that you've got, as men in particular, we need a sense of purpose. If we don't have a sense of purpose, we're in a sense of sabotage. We do stupid things. We're chasing highs, which are temporary highs, and you've known from so many players, once they retire in particular, they go down that vicious hole, man, and the environment's not there, but the party life, they're chasing that aspect. And I think for you in particular, like when you finished sports, how did you find that transition?
So transition, tough. It was a point, I finished playing at 28 years of age, so early. I'd gone from, in 18 months, playing for Wales, starting for Wales, to 18 months later finding myself injured, contract, coming up to finishing, struggling to find another contract. And it was a tough stage of my life. It did impact me in terms of my confidence, my self-esteem. But I did what I'm proud of now. I made it hard in terms of how I finished, but also what I'm proud of, I took ownership of that situation. And it was, even though it was a difficult period in my life, it was one that has really helped build me as an individual over the coming years, in terms of, you've spoken about the resilience. Ultimately life is full of setbacks and failures. Sport is the perfect analogy to life. It is full of the ups and downs. And, I think coming away from professional rugby into the real world, which it is, in terms of, what we deal with on a day-to-day basis is challenging. And, you speak about, the resilience aspect. Exercise, for me, is probably the most impactful personal development tool you can have.
Definitely.
It's, and not from a physical, and that's what I recognise now. What exercise does for me is far more than, the physical qualities that it develops in terms of your strength, your speed, your power. For me, it is the mental aspect. For me, exercise over the years has taught me the perseverance, the sticking with it, things, the consistency element, patience, knowing that it takes time. You don't get any quick fixes. Anything in life worth having takes time. The resilience aspect, doing hard things, getting comfortable, being uncomfortable, that phrase.
Yeah, man.
And that's ultimately, again, I think, a big, part of our Ion leg this year has been, the start of our Ion Boys Club, where You know, people from the outside might throw stones, take the piss as such, but for me, I know what I'm doing with it. It's, you know, it's very much grown organically through some of my close mates coming back in, getting involved in the gym, training outdoor, cold, early mornings, and realising exactly what you said there, how that sets you up for the day. Yeah. You know, for me, I exercise every day. Training is part of my life. You know, I fluctuate the intensity that I train at, so it allows me not to overtrain. But I have to train every day because of what it does at the start of every day, because what it does for me as a person is the self-care element. Yeah. It builds my physical, it builds my mental robustness, resilience for the day, and it makes me the best version of myself. Love that. And for me, the boys club that we started, you know, what's it built on? It's just getting a group of like-minded guys together that want to do something hard, work out, walk up the mountainside in the pissing rain. Yeah. You know, and just enjoy each other's company and have that connections element and get to know other people. Probably one of the biggest things that always stood out for me when we first met was your willingness just to come down and train with us. Yeah. You know, you didn't know us, you hadn't met me or some of the boys, but do you know what? You were just quite happy to come down and get involved in a tough workout. And for me, that says so much about people and so much about you as a person. Thanks, because the majority of guys never do that these days. So I think so many people these days have that fixed mindset in terms of not really wanting to socialise outside of their circle of friends, not wanting to, you know, potentially try something new, try something different, you know, get uncomfortable, which is, you know, ultimately again where we grow as humans, you know, as species over the years. How we've evolved as a species is through the stress response, you know, having that stimulus put on that over time we adapt to and we get better, you know, and, you know, we've overcome some of the harsh climates, you know, changes the world's provided, but it's, you know, but where we're at now as a society, it's the opposite, you know, we're getting softer as a species because we're not challenging ourselves because of comfort and convenience the world's built on. You know, and, you know, for me, we have to step outside of that parameter to do hard stuff to make us grow as individuals, both physically and mentally. That helps drive all areas of our lives.
Mate, there's so many things you said then. I was like, wow, perfect. All of those things I totally agree with. And one thing I'm very big on, understanding fears, like there's good fear and bad fear. Now, I'm a big believer in, right, like when I drove to the gym on my own that one time, there's a bit in my gut or my head going, oh, you don't know anyone, you? What are you doing? And then that's good fear.
Mate, 100%.
Now, a lot of people listen to that and go, that's bad fear to go, I'm out of here. What I was going to say, Rob, I'll go back to it now. I will get this. You talk about fear. Yeah. Now, fear, I believe, is good fear and bad fear. And that time I went to Ions, like you mentioned, there was a gut feeling in me going, oh, fuck, I don't know anyone here. I got to drive to Cardiff. I don't want to, do I want to mix, like, A, will they like me? Will I get along with them? You know? And it's all of these beliefs telling you to not. Yeah. And I was like, fuck, I've done worse things. Went to Australia for 10 years and mixed with loads of people. I've been in rugby environments before, I didn't know anyone. And then next thing, they're a bunch of brothers now. So I think understanding that for me, and I got there, met you, went real hard in that High Rocks workout, and I was like, I'm cool, like this is, and then look at the relationship we've built from that, and I think fear, good fear and bad fear, understanding the differentiating the two, and understanding sometimes that a good fear is something that's going to grow you.
100%, and I think you can look at so many examples of that in life, isn't it? And, you know, for me, you know, I'd look straight away, so, you know, we go back to Ion, what we're trying to achieve, you know, positive impact on our local but wider environment. And, you know, for me, the corporate wellness side of things has been an area over the past few years that really try and challenge myself to get involved with. And, you know, I do workshops with businesses around high performance, you know, the repetition of simplicity, trying to break things down, keep it. But, you know, the reason I'm making the point is going in there, I am so out of my comfort zone. It's you know, how much I have to practice before. I'm not a natural public speaker. You know, I know what I'm good at. I know what I'm not good at.
Good at it, man.
Thanks, mate. But it's something over time, doing it more, I've got better at. Yeah. But there isn't a better buzz I feel when I come away from it. Going in, my nerves, the anxiety is through the roof. But it's also the same as what I had when I played rugby. In those games, in the big games, you know, I always needed that fire in the belly as such, because that's when I know I'm going to perform at my best. And it is that whole getting excited for that uncomfortable point, which is really, and I think, you know, as you get older, you start to be able to recognize that, you know, what usually holds you back, the more you're ready to take that step and challenge yourself, is where you really do feel at your best, feel alive, feel like you're growing and doing something to improve yourself. And, you know, I think, you know, humans are social species. Yeah. You know, we love those interactions, you know, but again, we're so fixed mindset in terms of, you know, not being willing to do things like that. And for me, I know coming to Ion can be a really intimidating, you know, environment for a lot of people. What a warehouse, a gym with shutter doors, no like heating and no treadmills and stuff. It's just people, space, but ultimately, as soon as they step in, they understand. They start to get that feeling of security in terms of relationship, friendships, people speaking to each other, you know, knowing each other's names and that side of things, and building the community aspect. But it is, you've got to be, you know, there's only so much you can do for a person. People have to be willing to take that first step, willing to get a little bit uncomfortable, to be able to allow them to move on and grow in life. And, you know, I think, yeah, like you said, there's so many examples of that, but it's, you know, coaches over the years hammering that, you know, getting uncomfortable in the thick of the game, in the heat of the moment, in terms of just take it up another gear. You know, that's where, you know, we just got to stick with it, stay in the fight as such. Yeah. You know, being uncomfortable, you know, getting comfortable, being uncomfortable, and it's just always sticks with me. And I think it's now so true. And you see that phrase everywhere now, all over social media. But it's the difference between implementing it and just talking about it,
doing it once off, and it's repetition. And you said something then as well, like you getting into public speaking and doing these things, going to the corporate events, mate. We're so out of our comfort zone doing it right. And one thing that I'm big on, and you've probably seen it before, is like it's a form of anxiousness, right? The unknown. So I get like a piece of paper and I just draw a line down the middle of the paper and I'll do a little across the top and I'll put can and can't. I'll put what I can control in the situation, what I can't control, right? As long as I write down all the things I can control, so preparation, what am I executing, what are my topics, how do I deliver it, who is the audience I'm talking to, and just rinse and repeat that every day before the event, I know I've done everything I can. If I do a shit job, it's okay, I've tried, I've done everything. Now, and then I look at the can'ts. Okay, you know, maybe it's a diverse environment that I haven't worked with before. Maybe I've got to watch my P's and Q's. Maybe there it's a couple of sick people there. Maybe I get bad weather on the way there that makes me late or something like that. Right? There's a few things, accidents. They're all out of my control. But as long as I tick off the boxes I can control, for me then my anxiousness just decreased, because I'm like, And I think sometimes we get so cooped up in our head of what we got to do, and we get stressed out, frustrated, and sometimes we procrastinate and put off the things that we need to do beforehand, and we leave it to the last minute. Well, no wonder you're stressing your balls off. But like I noticed with you, after the boys' day in Gym 2, you were already preparing Monday. Yeah. I pulled you aside, mate. I was like, I noticed that, man. You just got all the racks out right now. You've got the weights prepared. And he's like, oh, mate, in my head, as long as I know I've ticked it all off, I can switch off then, you know. And that, for me, man, is like...
Do you not, like, think that's what you've hit the nail on the head, preparation, isn't it? Like, you know, that's... For me, that's why I've recognised, you know, the areas and trying to grow the business outside of the four walls, the corporate stuff. It's not, like I said, it's not my natural area of expertise in terms of public speaking, but it all comes down to preparation. The more prepared I am going in, the better I'm going to perform, the better I'm going to be able to do it in. I think I look back at my rugby career. For so long, I was so frustrated. My career was just, again, same as a lot of players, but a lot of people that aren't involved in rugby don't often see it. It's like full of ups and downs in a way where, you know, I was able to achieve my ultimate ambition of playing for my country, playing for Wales. I was fortunate. I played 8 times for Wales. I was part of 2 Grand Slam winning campaigns, played against New Zealand, South Africa, Australia, but played 8 times. And I felt I felt so unfulfilled. I wanted so much more. I always had that, vision of being a Welsh great. And that's what drove me. But also, throughout my career at Cardiff, I was also battling against Martin Williams. Wales is one of Wales's greatest open side flankers. And, I always had, season on season, we'd always play more or less the same number of matches each, 50-50 in terms of, so it wasn't a lack of game time that I often had. But it was obviously the big games. Martin would get the nod, and like looking back at it, I understand now in terms of the skill set he had. But it helped me be the best version of myself because I had never had an opportunity to rest on my laurels in terms of being the best rugby player again. If I wanted to be the best player I can be, I had to train my nuts off. That's what really drove me with the strength and conditioning. I just always wanted to, try and do everything I possibly can to be prepared as I could, so when those opportunities came, I could be at my best. And that's where I'm grateful for, being able to reflect now on my career. Do you know what? Even though I finished my career feeling incredibly unfulfilled, I now can look back and think, no, I'm proud of what I achieved as a rugby player because of the work I put in. And that's what I'm more proud of, is the work I put in to be able to do that. And, my career, it was a bit of sod's law where, in that 18-month window where, playing for Wales to being injured, and then I had this young kid coming through at the same time where I was injured, called Sam Warburton, being with Martin Williams throughout the career, it was, people can say there's excuses and bad timing, but it's, ultimately it's, like I said, I'm proud of what I achieved and how I achieved it. And it's what's driven me now, running a business, is exactly that. We've had some really tough times. I've had business partnerships that, in the early days that broke down, failed. Well, not failed, always serves its purpose, but broke down, trying to go through those changes. It's hard, stressful, financial implications, COVID, changes in terms of how we operate as a business, so many challenges. But it's also, what I went through as a player. I had some pretty horrendous injuries when I was playing as well, and it's the mindset that you learn over time. Every time you go through these setbacks, how it just builds you, and then, like I said, I feel I'm at a stage in my life where, I can more or less handle, what life throws at you, and it's just, it's unavoidable. I think it's, again, it's a bit cliche, isn't it? But you learn so much more and develop so much more through those setbacks, failures, and as opposed to the highs. And again, it's those things that you can reflect back on that really you can recognise and think, I've got this. I can move forward. I can just keep down, trust the process, be process driven in what you do. I always talk about again the quote I love. It's the man that loves walking will walk further than the man that loves the destination. Wow. And when you love the journey, the goals just happen. And for me, that's been a big part of my attitude towards what we do with Ion. Is I don't know what that end point looks like, which I've probably not copped off, that's the wrong term, but used it as a bit of an excuse, saying, I'm very process driven in what I do. I love the journey. I'm very, very passionate about the journey. And as a result, these goals are just happening. We're growing as a business. Yeah. But I do feel like that's what my big work on next year is, understanding what that end point looks like, or what I'm working towards, because that's what my team needs as well. They need to know where we're working
towards. Where we're going.
Does that look like more facilities? Does that look like, growth in other areas of the business? And, it's we all love what we do, but it's also, I'm very much a believer in being process driven in what we do, and that's how we get on.
I love that. That's amazing, and like you just said, there's been so many times on your journey that you probably could have waved the white flag and gone, I'm done here. Hey, be grateful for what we've done. We've had a crack. Yeah. Let's shake hands and move on. But I think for yourself, you haven't let it define you. In fact, you've doubled down even more. And now you've got, the 2 gyms. As a business owner yourself, Robin, and you've got members of staff underneath you, how do you've spoken about how you turn up for yourself. How do you implement a good team?
Yeah. I think that for me is I really recognise over the last, so I've been finished playing rugby probably about 15 years ago now, so I've been out rugby 15 years, and there was 3 or 4 years post rugby where I didn't have anything to do with rugby, then started as a part-time strength and conditioning coach with Neath RFC semi-pro, and over the years assistant coach Cardiff Rugby, or strength and conditioning assistant coach, head of strength and conditioning. So for a long part of the time I've had the business, I've also worked full time in rugby. So quite early on, it was recognising the need to have people with you and building a team. But also, again, I've learned so much over the years being in professional sport in terms of what, how effective teams operate, and what drives team environments. It is the connections, it is the communication, building strong relationships, good communicational skills. And I think over the years with Ion, as we've built the team, it's all been built around that whole, getting the right people on the bus, getting the right people on the bus, getting the right people in the seats. And for me, I've always wanted to recruit people first of all. What makes a good coach? I'm not bothered about qualifications. Qualifications are important, don't get me wrong, it's probably the wrong term, but I'm more interested in the person. Have they got empathy? Are they confident but not overconfident?
Yeah.
Is this someone, because for me the art of coaching, the skill of coaching, that's something we can learn. That's something that can develop over time. I feel we've got enough experience within our team that we can help on board new coaches. We've got quite a set structure now in terms of onboarding new coaches, but first and foremost it's about getting the right coaches involved in what we do, because that's what I see my role now in terms of, I don't do a huge amount of coaching on the gym floor now. I see my role is very much the team, looking after the team, making sure the team are in a good place that then filters through in terms of, the members, the impact of the members on a day in, day out basis. And, it's, I have some key points that I, often really try and focus on in terms of, it's getting the right people on the bus. It's understanding the why in terms of what we're doing as a business that helps drive it. Understanding it's the hours on the gym floor that's going to hone their craft. It's about challenging themselves. The whole, the whole getting comfortable doing, being uncomfortable with things. And the one thing that probably the last 3 or 4 years we've really, really nailed down is the systems, for us in terms of, you made the point, and that's what I always use. How you do one thing is how you do everything. And for me as a team, it's how we open up in the mornings. It's how we close at night. It's, I want the 7:30 p.m. class in the evening to have the same experience as the 5:25 a.m. class in the morning, in terms of every time people come on the gym floor, everything's set up, everything's neat, everything has its has its place. And it's the cleaning, it's the keeping a high level, a high performance in everything that we do. That's really kicked us on as a team. And now we have these systems documented and, standards in place. It's a lot easier to start blueprinting, with space to be opening up, same principles there. And that's ultimately, what I've been really proud of as our team, is working together to build these systems that we operate at a good level with. We've got 13 coaches in our team, all different experiences, all different age groups. But ultimately, it's about trying to be consistent in what we deliver on the gym floor, and that's been a real moment where I actually had it after the autumn internationals. I remember coming in to train. I think it was like on a Sunday evening, and thinking I'm going to go in. I'm just going to probably get in a little bit earlier before I train, just to tidy up, do a couple of jobs. And I walked in, and literally there was nothing for me to do in terms of, and I was so proud in terms of just. Yeah, we're at a good point here in terms of, we can always get better as a team, but ultimately we've got the right people involved, the right people doing the right things, how you do one thing, how you do everything. And yeah. That's
a real good sign that you're doing something right here,
Yeah.
When you can rock up and be away for a bit and go, wow, go work team,
Yeah.
And I think it's that form of, I know the word, but I don't know. I can't think of the right word for it. But it's like, when you see people in movement and it's all happiness of music going, and you just stand back and you look and you go, wow,
yeah,
we've created this. We've created a space for people to escape
like a classic example are Tuesday mornings. I love the vibe, but I'm an early morning person. But how we run, High Rocks has been a big addition to us this year. We run an outdoor High Rocks class on a Tuesday morning. We'll have 40, 50 people in that class. We've got 40 people inside bench pressing, doing upper body strength, push pull, and then a low skill conditioning piece. 80 people in at 6 a.m. We have our 5:25 a.m. gang in first. The high ion 30 class could have 20 people in there, and see over 100 people getting in, getting a workout, getting after it before a lot of people have got out of bed.
Yeah,
that's something, because I know how much that's empowering those individuals, how much they're taking that into the rest of their day. You talk about eating the frog, doing the hard things first and foremost. Well, that is a clear example of it, and that's ultimately just seeing people just getting after it. It's just, I feed off that energy. Do you mean? And it's hard not to.
I think another good sign, man, is you're doing something right, is when people come from far and wide to come. Like the boys club. I've bumped into people who come from Newport to you. This High Rocks event, where you've got a couple coming up, but I think I'm doing the one.
Nice. Yeah, and the full High Rock simulation end of Jan.
Me and Brad are going to give it a crack,
Class.
and man, I'm very grateful. And even, for one thing I've been lucky to do since going there is when I come, on the weekends in particular, is getting to know people like Khaled, getting to know some of the boys in the boys club. I think it was a fella Nathan and Fish, and just belly laughing the whole time, mate. And I just known him for 2 seconds, So that's a beautiful thing for me. Like you said, the ceiling. Is there ever a ceiling for you? Because you do a lot. You with Wales, strength and conditioning with Wales. You do Cardiff. Is Cardiff Blues or rugby?
No, so full time with Wales, with WRU, with the national squad, part of our strength and conditioning department, which I love, so passionate about. I'm fortunate that we've got a great management group, a great crop of players at the moment. Obviously, it's tough times, but I talk about it's what we've been speaking about all along. Sports, it's a perfect analogy for life. Setbacks, failures, and we've had some setbacks recently, but we will grow from it and we will come out the other side. In terms of, the business, Ion, want to keep growing that. I think where I'm at in life, and I know it sounds a bit emotional, cheesy, but I'm at a point in my life where I can honestly say it's the happiest I've ever been. Amazing. It really is. And I'm, I need to keep reminding myself, because what I'm not good at is being present a lot. I've got an amazing wife and Rory, my 18-month-old, which, it's just the most special thing you can go through. And, for me, I talk about my why in terms of the business, what we do, but my why is them, and I know it's the cheesy side of it, but it's so true. It's, I want to turn up day in, day out and be the best version of myself for them, and that means in order to be the best version for them, I want to have a business that is thriving in terms of is continually grow, not just for the impact it can have on people, the impact it can have on my team, grow their careers, the impact it can have on my family. Where's the ceiling? It's not being cheesy. I want to go back to something, because for me, the big driver is the society aspect. And what we want to build on is how we positively impact our community, our society. And, the frightening thing is where we're at as a society, 60% of the population is classified as in poor health. 40% of the population is classified as obese. 3 primary causes of 90% of modern day chronic illnesses: sedentary lifestyles, nutrient deficient diets, and chronic stress. 90% of modern day chronic illnesses. And it's frightening, because, those 3 things, they're lifestyle choices.
Yeah.
What's been driving them? Comfort and convenience of society. And I know going off on stats and stuff, but it's I think it's so important in terms of just people recognize it. Type 2 diabetes, that's doubled in the last 15 years. It's set to double again in the next 10 years, which is crazy to think, because, what does type 2 diabetes do? It drives a lot of inflammation within the body. And that's the root cause of so many modern day chronic illnesses, cancer rates. in the 1900s, it was 1 in 20 people diagnosed with cancer. The 1940s, 1 in 17. 1970s, 1 in 10. 2000s, 1 in 3. Modern day, 1 in 2 people. We've all been touched by people with cancer. Yeah. But you think about the trend that we're on, it's just like, it is frightening to see where we're going to be in 20, 30 times. The one that's really scary, and again, a big driver, and I've got this different, my head's in different places with it, because, is the dementia side of things. We talk, the rugby aspect, that's been spoken a lot about at the moment, and, it does frustrate me because, I often get, we do a lot with youths with Ion, and I get a lot of parents asking me about their opinions on, contact sport and whether little Johnny should be playing rugby because of, the scary impact that head knocks can have. And yes, there is a risk. There is a risk there. But, what team sport, what contact sports does for young boys in particular, both boys and girls, but, the way, men are these days in terms of a lot of guys struggling with mental health issues. And, for me, the foundations that team sports provides, the robustness, the resilience aspect is so important in terms of, putting them in good spots for later on in life. The dementia, why I'm talking about dementia, I had grandparents that passed away with it. It's a horrible condition to see. But being a new dad, Rory, 18 months, 1 in 3 children born this year will develop dementia in their lives. That's the statistic it is now. And over the next 20 years, dementia is set to overcome cardiovascular disease as the biggest killer in society.
So what can not reverse it, but what can help?
So what can reverse it, what can help is us, isn't it? It's overcoming sedentary lifestyles. Why are people so sedentary? And this is the whole recognising the barriers in society. It's not about shaming people. It's recognising what's the biggest cause of sedentary lifestyles: working environments. People are sat down for so long in front of laptops, computer screens, hunched over, that's causing back pain, that drives so many other, metabolic diseases as a result of being stagnant all day. We're built to move. That's what humans are. But being sat down for 9-10 hours a day is just, it's not good for our health. It's not about, what's exercise. Exercise is creating more purposeful movement. That's ultimately what exercise is. And, that's why it's the movement pillar, not exercise, it's movement. We need to move more as species to prioritize our health. How do you do that? It's the whole walking up the stairs instead of the elevator. Park yourself. And there's something that I do now. It's like, it's ingrained into me. It's not trying to be a goody two-shoes. It's like, park the other side of the car park when you go into Asda or Morrison's or, wherever you may shop, and walk just those couple of extra steps, how that can have a positive impact. Eating better diets. Cut out the crap. Everyone's always looking for that magic diet to follow, but you cut back a lot on the process, the ultra-processed foods. You focus on a diet that's revolved around whole foods. Making sure you're hydrated. Hydration is one of the biggest, issues. 90% of the population walk around in a dehydrated state. If you're dehydrated, your blood volume's reduced. So what ends up happening? Your heart has to pump faster to get the blood circulating, get enough oxygen around the body. If your heart's beating, your resting heart rate's elevated. What do we think that's? If we're constantly walking around in a dehydrated state and your resting heart rate's elevated, day in, day out, your heart as a key organ of our body is having to do so much more work than it needs to. It's it's being overstressed on a daily basis. Cardiovascular disease, biggest killer in society. Is there a link there? I'm not saying it's a direct root of it, but you just couple that with movement, nutrition, poor hydration, stress management. It's overcoming chronic stress. The acute stress, chronic stress. How acute stress, we've spoken about the fright, the fight or flight. That's what we're built for as humans, to be able to, you flee chasing your prey down, or getting away from predators. That's what really is what the human body is designed and built for, and it's just trying to overcome these areas is so important. But the statistics around where we're the trajectory we're heading on as society around our health and well-being is just frightening. So going back to your question, where's the ceiling? I just want to keep us doing what we do. That trying to, if we can have more of an impact outside of the four walls of Ion in some shape or form, then that's where I'm going to I'm happy. That's where it's not, yes, I'm financially driven. That's what I want. But ultimately the biggest way is growing the business to have the biggest impact it possibly can on people and on society. And that's where my passion stems.
It's beautiful, that is, man.
Thanks, man.
And you can just see, man, you're like just so much wisdom and knowledge in everything you're talking about, and the duty of care as well is a big one. Now, this is a little off topic, but not off topic. I went last night to Aldi just to get some groceries, right? And you got them middle aisles in Aldi, they just got some random stuff in there. Yeah, and and I just seen these things that it was this thing that you wrap around your stomach, and it's an electric heater, and you put it in the house when you're cold, you put it on your belly, and there's these electric for your feet, slippers, right? And I was like, this is just seeks comfort so much still, right? And that's the environment. I know this is just a little bit left wing to it, but like it kind of like, as humans, we seek comfort, right? Pleasure, and these are like constant fixes all the time, and that's why I like even though I don't know all of the science behind cold exposure, but it's definitely making me more resilient. It's definitely helping my immune system. It's definitely like just even the fact getting up in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, go in the dark in the sea. All of these things are uncomfortable, but society, like you just said, is trying to seek comfort. Yeah. Like take this, do this, put that on, warm yourself up this way. And we are getting softer. Now there's a fine line then though and this is where I go watch the word mental health. We have the mental health word of I'm mental health, I can't go to work today, I'm down in the dumps. But then if you really sat down with a person, you go, is it actually like legitimate mental health? Like you see some people with legitimate mental health, or are you just waving the flag because you're trying to cut corners right now? And I don't really know where I'm going with that, but do you know?
I 100%. Well, for me, the mental health side of things, it's been spoken a hell of a lot about, isn't it? And it's needed because so many people struggle with their mental health these days. But you also look at, the statistics around our health. 60% of the population being in poor health. And that's where that's physical, where that's mental. What are the primary causes? Mm. Lack of movement, nutrition, poor nutrition, stress. It's. I also think the more it's constantly being spoken about in people's faces, it also, is it good? I don't know. If I'm honest, I don't know whether it's something that we always need to talk about, because I think it just, again, it's also an easy reason for some people to use, and it is a bit of a cop out, I find. And I think the more of a focus, and that with what we do, I avoid using the term mental health. Same. Because, our boys club that we run, it's not about, do I think it's driving our mental health? 100%. Because it's doing the hard things. It's getting a bunch of like-minded people together to do hard things. And that's ultimately, as a society, doing more of that is what's going to help. And, I think, that's where it's a tough one. It's a tough one, but it's something that, it's, where am I going with it? It's like I said, I think it's great, because I was actually talking about the other day, what I feel we're seeing as a society is you're getting the people that are really aware of it and are addressing so many pillars of their health. And, that's, again, the whole cold exposures is just, the Instagram, it's there everywhere. And and you also have the other end of the spectrum where people just don't give a rat's ass about their health, wellness, crack on with things. There's not that many people in the middle area trying to make that transition over. But, other things that I'm seeing more and more these days, which I think is really cool, is things like, I've seen so many more guys just knocking booze on the head. Yeah, man. Which I think, in society is still seen as weirdo, doesn't drink. Like, I'm not teetotal, but I don't drink a huge amount. Never has been a big part of my life. But I don't care. I don't get pressured into drinking, that side of things. But for a lot of people, there's a lot of unhealthy relationships with alcohol, coupled with, a lot of sedentary lifestyles, overstressed, that just, it compounds it and it becomes a vicious circle. And, for me, it's, go back to the dementia statistics. For me, my opinion in terms of from rugby player side of things, it's like, we know this. It's like there's so much more around dementia around contact sports than there is highlighted dementia in terms of where we're at as a society.
Yeah.
You know, for so many rugby players after rugby, let's stay fit, healthy, prioritise your health first and foremost in terms of making sure you keep it moving, you're eating well, you're managing your stress, so you prioritise your brain health, you look after your brain health, because it's the old saying, isn't it? Genetics loads the gun, lifestyle pulls the trigger.
Yeah.
You know, and I love that one because, you know, some people will be predisposed to certain genetic conditions that, you know, may drive certain diseases, but also lifestyle has the ability to accelerate or decelerate those symptoms. And something like dementia, you know, it may be unavoidable for certain people, but what you can most certainly do is have a bit more control in terms of how aggressive those symptoms may present themselves. And you know, if you treat your body as a temple and look after it and do the most you can do, then surely that's going to have a positive impact on the longevity and your quality of life, which is so important for not just for you, but for your family and your friends.
100%, man. So it's bringing an awareness to it, right? It's bringing an awareness to it, like you said, and just pulling it a little bit back, Robin, to like the mental health card, right? So I'm a big believer in, right, yeah, if you had something going on right now, that's impacting your mental health, let's talk about it, right? And then let's just say right now, the next week, we're talking about the same topic again, but you've done nothing about it. The question I'll ask you is, what are you knowingly doing which is preventing you from resolving this? So if you know that you can resolve this, but you're not doing it, don't come back to me about it. Yeah. But if you are going to do something about it, let's put an action plan together. Who else does it impact? I think for a lot of people, right, and this is one thing I'm very big with my job, is we only do things in emotion, Robin. Like, if we're overweight and we look in the mirror, we catch ourselves, how does that make us feel? Not great. We need to sort that out. Our action is change our diet, go to the gym. Now, okay, that concept then can go into other things. So we set an action, we achieve the goal, the outcome, more confidence, feel better about ourselves. Let's go to the next pillar. Let's go to the next chapter. But if you are someone that just wants to vent, unload, and you're just energy dumping on me, but you're not taking any action, I'm sorry, mate, I can help you so far, but I ain't going to help you here. For a lot of people, man, I think it's having that awareness that, what are you doing about it? Yeah. And I know there's different degrees to mental health. I'm aware of that suicidal part. But if it's low level where, you know, you're stressed out, you're anxious, you're overwhelmed, but you're not doing nothing about it, well, I'm sorry. But for a lot of people, it's making them aware. And I think this is what I do with a lot of my work, is you've got to make them aware of the pain. Who else does this impact? My wife, my kids. So what's your wife's name? Jenny. So this impacts Jenny and the kids, little Jeff and Katie, whatever, right? So what's going to happen in the next 6 to 12 months if you don't do anything about this? I might lose my marriage. Oh, so you're bringing awareness right now to the potential. If you don't change, you're going to fuck up. What's that make you feel like right now? I'm fucking not good about myself. So we then make them aware of, you got to make them aware of the state that they're going to be in, to then go, okay, well, we know when you do these things, how does that make you feel? We put them in a different state. When we put them in a different mental state, they're aware of what they can feel like. We want to always chase what's better for us, right? Why do we chase a girl when we're younger? Why do we go, it makes us feel good, they attract you, this and you know what I mean? So it's being aware of the states. Now, if you're not excited about your future, you're stuck in this. So you've got to find the person's excitement. What's going to excite them? And unfortunately for not a lot of people, they're not aware of what's exciting them. So you've got to be in the right rooms that make you want to level up. And if you're in the right rooms, man, you're on a trajectory of like fulfillment, I believe. I hope that makes sense.
100%. I think you're hitting so many nails on the head, haven't you? It's you know, again, why is mental health such a prominent topic that's spoken about? You know, I think humans are social species. So many people are isolated, you know, either it's small friendship groups, isolated, working from home. That's why during COVID, so many people struggled with their mental health. You know, it's a fact. You know, I think it's called tachykinin, or a molecule in the brain that it really drives your mental health or your brain development in terms of being with social interactions and being isolated. You know, so one of the biggest things people can do is being around other people, being around other like-minded people. Probably, exercise is often spoken about, in the world that we live in. Everyone's so heavily medicated if they've got symptoms of, there's of course there's always place for medicine. I'm not anti-medicine at all, but it's also, what are we trying first and foremost? Exercise, again, the impact of exercise often referred to as the most powerful drug for our mental health that we can do in all areas of our health, not just mental, but exercise, has such a positive impact, powerful impact on the body, and it's the endorphins, the rush, the feeling, the adrenaline, everything that goes with it, the feels that we get, the kick. It's, I'm an addict to my exercise, my morning routine, my daily routine, because like I said, not in a bad way, it's just I know that that's what really drives me on a day-to-day basis. And I think, there are, like I said, there are people out there that struggle, and I don't think it's, I've seen it through my friends as well, and spoke about my friend that had some troubles, and it's it's not a straight path.
No.
There are you get into it, then you have setbacks, but over time you recognize, and that's where 100% he's got to, is he really recognizes now what keeps him where he needs to be in terms of the best version of himself on a day-to-day basis, keeps him away from alcohol and stuff like that. And it's that's what's powerful, is when you see someone taking ownership, making those changes, implementing them, and that is what we need more of, is just guys taking more ownership with things. And it's that is such a broad broad, and it's not it's not though. Pointing a finger at just one group of people. Like I said, I know I have friends that struggle with their mental health that are into their exercise, into them, but it's there are other areas of life that really impact it as well. And it's just trying to, again, I go back to the boys club. It's just, the purpose is just building, promoting like-minded guys, resilience, robustness, doing hard things, that I think is just such a big part of where we need more of in society.
And you hit the nail on the head, though, accountability. You've got to, there's a thing called cause and effect. Now, I've got to make sure which one it comes across, but once you're at cause, like once you're at a place where you're acceptant of the reason why things aren't happening right now is because of accountability of myself. If you're pointing the finger out all the time, though, you're always going to be stuck. And playing the victim card. But if you decide to go, this is on me now, I need to change, I need to make those things, then I've got to do that. And you listen, I'm sure, to Jordan Peterson, Tony Robbins of the world, and they're not for everyone, but I really like them. And Tony Robinson talks a lot about subconscious mind and the conscious mind. So, have you ever seen the iceberg metaphor, where you've got 10% of the conscious, 90% of the subconscious, and a lot of our belief systems sitting there, experiences, stories, emotions, and then in the conscious, that 10% of which you live on every day. And that, that might be our willpower. And a lot of people will stay on the straight and narrow for a week or two, and then before you know it, they slip off that and they go back to old behaviors, and they just don't know why, because they haven't instilled this habit yet. So I think it's really important at the start, in particular, man, you've got to put the stabilizers on the bike. Get them stabilizers on the bike and be around people who are taking you on that journey, and that helps a lot.
So that's what I say our number one service at ION is accountability. That's what we offer. If people want to create positive behavioral change in their lives, whether it's exercise, whether it's nutrition, stress management, you first and foremost got to look at how can you put accountability in your life that's going to keep you on track. This time of the year now, Christmas, into the new year, new me, loads of big changes, big lifestyle change, join new gym, new nutrition plan to follow. A big believer in the marginal gains, David Brailsford's, those marginal gains, those 1%ers. And, it's about making those small changes over time. A start of repetition and simplicity. That's what drives change. But for us at ION, in terms of accountability, how do we provide accountability for our members? Well, we have an appointment service. Everyone has to book in. Everyone has to book into classes. Have to book in and show up. I'll be honest, if people late cancel, they get quite hefty fines. And, for me, it's not about trying to make more money out of it. It's about the accountability aspect. I know it's hard work getting up at 5 a.m. or whatever to attend the class, but when you've got 30 people in a class and you've got other people on waiting lists and you cancel late, you're not only letting yourself down, but you also stop preventing other people from getting into it. And don't get me wrong, I know there's always reasons, young families, stuff that might stop, but it's more the principle in terms of what drives change, consistency, discipline, accountability, and it's trying to put as much accountability in people's paths. We always run like New Year challenges, and it's not because I believe we're going to create change in 30 days, but it's like our New Year challenge this year is all geared around mindset.
Nice.
It's not about fancy nutrition plans, eating this number of calories and, having this amount of protein. Do you know what the challenge is? I'm calling it ring the bell. So it's, but built off the, the Navy SEALs ringing the bell format, no alcohol for a month, no junk food for a month. What are the other ones? 30 minutes of movement every day. Hydration, 2 litres plus of water each day, minimum 7 hours in bed, and then we'll have a weekly challenge.
Nice.
It's just those simple things, but everyone's going to put their names on the whiteboard in the gym. And, there'll be plenty of people that won't be able to, there may be a social commitment, they've got to have a drink or stuff, but they've got to cross their names. It is an honesty thing, but they're out. They can still carry on in terms of going to use an app to track habits, but it's also, it's ringing the bell. When you can't do it, ring the bell. And, it's not about demonizing foods. If people want to have a beer here, or if people want to have, that's fine. But the point of this 30 days is showing to yourself, have you got the mindset to do it? Because guaranteed, if you go a month with doing those things, you're going to feel bloody brilliant in everything you do. And then it's a case of picking and choosing what you want to stick with. And like I said, because I've had it with, nutritionists and stuff and dietitians, in terms of pinpointing when, you're cutting things out, or you're seen to demonize, junk food and stuff like that. And it's like, for me, it's never about demonizing the foods. It's just like majority of people just don't have the self-discipline to not do it. And I'm not perfect. Like I can get into a routine where, be great all day and then enjoy a cup of tea and 3, 4, 5, 6 biscuits in the evening. Yeah. But it's amazing how quickly that can become quite routine, and you get into it, and it's just like, it's the whole dopamine hit, the addict in us that craves it. And it's once you recognize it and you realize, actually, I don't need this.
I don't need it.
And again, what's that coming down to? Mindset, discipline, resilience. It's doing hard things. Is it hard to, not have a drink with your mates when something's planned, or when you've got, some biscuits in the cupboard and you're at the end of the day, you're tired, you just want to have that sugar hit. Yeah, it's hard not having it, but you can.
You can. That's so true. You were talking about that challenge. This was a great idea, and it keeps accountability. But the best thing about it is you're doing it with other people, so you don't want to let them down.
So there's on that, then that's, again, a great point. So part of the challenge, so again, it's called the Kohler effect. So, and, it's what naturally happens in sport, so a group of people working together for a common cause is going to be a lot more successful than people working as individuals. And what are the most effective teams? The teams that work together. And a big part of this challenge, which I'm talking to our members about and putting out, is the Kohler effect. And, again, it's not just for the challenge, it's the whole point of group classes. Everyone's coming to get better. That's the ultimate goal, is the self-improvement. Everyone's at different stages of their health and fitness journey, but ultimately the goal is to get better. With the challenge, it's about just working together as a group of people, is what, for a common cause, and staying on track, which is what's really going to drive the outcome. And that's the Kohler effect, and it's exactly what, the point that you're making there.
Yeah, I love that. It's, I remember when I was like 25, I struggled with the social aspect of being okay not to drink for a little bit. And then I did this challenge, and it's similar to 75 Hard. You would have heard about it. I've done it twice now. Yeah,
nice.
Mate, oh, fuck.
Good, man.
Shredded the shit out of me, though. I was
the 2 a days and one in the outside is the...
Yeah, I know. But I was doing triathlon training at that stage.
Perfect.
So I was absolutely peeled. Yeah. But it gave me a reason to be okay to say no. I'm not letting myself down here. And I was, any time a social aspect, you want a beer? Like, nah, man, I'm not drinking. And you do it for 75 days, man. By the end of it, people stop asking you. And then it's just a roll-on effect. And I'm very comfortable not to drink. I don't get me wrong, I'm not teetotal. But I think that's a really good thing to do.
100%.
My next, I got 2 questions to ask you. The first one is what advice would you give to your younger self?
Enjoy the journey more. Certainly from a rugby perspective, and that's what, again, I try and speak to quite a lot of the rugby players at the moment, because I think in the environments, in the here and now, like how stressful it is and how down you can get. Like I always say, rugby is the best job you're ever going to do. You know, you've got to enjoy the journey, even when you're injured, when you don't get picked. You're in an environment where your mates, your brothers, you know, you've got to love it. You've got to love every minute of it, because you're going to be a long time retired, and you'll always reflect back and see it. And, you know, so I think, and it's still my work on in terms of the being present, you know, talk about the journey. That's something that I do, you know, I feel like, you know, I am loving the journey, but what I'm not doing enough of is enjoying the present. And I think it's just, you know, a younger version of myself is just really trying to nail down that. It's just be more present, enjoy where you're at, enjoy the period of your life you're in, you know, because I think a lot of people, the way the rat race of society is always what's next. Yeah. And I think it's natural to do. And certainly for young rugby players, I see that's the side of it that I think it goes like that. Your rugby career just disappears. But it's just, if you can really just enjoy and take it for what it is as well, in terms you're in a privileged position, in terms you've worked hard to get there, but there's so many people out there who bite your hand off to be in the position you are. And I think that's the part of it, is just enjoy the present, enjoy that journey as much as you can.
Love that, man. I think mine would be around the place of just continue to grow, learn, be like a student of life. I think at stages of your life, you think you're too, especially young 20s and late teens, you think you're too big for your boots. Can't listen to someone. Don't take it personal. No. Don't take things personal. That'll be my ones. And I think with that, though, we spoke before, didn't we? In terms of, I think actually as you get older and a bit more experienced, you actually realise it's the U curve, in terms of, actually, I don't know anything, or I don't know half as much as I used to think I knew. And, you know, talking about the mentorship with what you do, how you help people, you know, for me, for the last few years, I've been part of a mentorship program, because I want to be the best version I can. I want to be the best gym owner, coach, you know, entrepreneur, whatever it may be, I can, to drive myself forward. And I need accountability. I need assistance. I want to use other people's experience. You know, it's so important. And I think, like, I won't keep going because these are massive. And every time you say something, like, I'll say this. Yeah. But I think it's okay to seek guidance. Like, if I said to my younger self, just, you know, some people say, be the true you, do what you want, enjoy life, go wild. Well, I'd probably, if that's what I was going to do, I'd be easily led by my urges. I would have chased my urges and probably took me down other paths. I think having some form of a cornerstone or a North Star or someone that I look up to, you know, that's really important to me, because it puts me on a trajectory of, okay, well, this path's good, and then I'm going to follow so far, and then I'll find my way. But I'm on this journey, like, you know, even the boys club thing, like, I straight to you, I was like, mate, I love this. Can I copy that? You're like, mate, 100%. And like, for me, it's seeing people like you, seeing other people in the environment and going, okay, how can I learn off them? How can they learn off me? So I think it's important to have people to look up to, you know?
100%.
Last thing, brother, what are you grateful for?
What am I grateful for? I think, as I touched in the podcast, in terms of where I'm at in life now, it's been a wicked journey. You know, it's has been far from straightforward, like majority of people, full of ups and downs along the way. But, you know, where I'm at, I'm so grateful for, you know, my family, you know, the lifestyle that we have. You know, a big part going into this year, being busy with rugby, being busy with the gyms, was the intention. And one of my close friends is, you know, he's hammered this point in terms of just, you know, again, it's living with intention, living with purpose. And, you know, for me, one of the biggest things, I've got a little whiteboard upstairs, which I, you know, write down my goals for the year, business, family, and the one that really stands out is just trying to be at home as much as possible in the evenings, to do my evening routine with my little boy Rory, getting him ready for bed. And there's plenty of dads in our environment and my friends that are always into me. It's like, just enjoy these moments. And I think being an older dad as well, I'm 42 now, I'm very conscious of how quickly time goes and how these experiences, moments I'm having with him, are just going to disappear as well. And it's on to the next. So I think I'm very grateful for my home life and, having built a career where I'm doing what I've got an absolute passion and love for, helping other people, that is also enabling to provide a career for my team, me as an individual, my wife, and, a home life as well. So, yeah, grateful for just life in general, mate, without that being too wishy-washy.
No, mate, I love that. What am I grateful? Grateful for this, man, these opportunities. I love the podcasting, but it gives me opportunity to get to know people more like yourself on a deeper level than just, some people you might get a surface level conversation, but I've always been grateful. As soon as I met you, I knew I was like, this is my guy. So, Robin, thank you so much.
Likewise, mate. Thank you very much, bud.